Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Look at the production value. We're outside today. Hopefully you can hear me well. I guess I'll find out whenever I'm editing this. But happy May everyone. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I am interested in talking about my mental health in order to show support and just spread more awareness of mental health issues. As usual, I just wanted to make sure you guys know these videos are always going to be informal. My channel is not meant to be anything other than me talking and talking how I want to, blah 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 blah. So if you feel like this is too informal for you, oh well. I hope everyone else enjoys the content and enjoys what I have to say, because I just want to share my experience with you guys, because not a lot of people are open to talking about this stuff because it's heavy, but I am, because I don't want other people to feel how I did when I felt alone and like I couldn't say anything. So I'd rather be the voice than be the silence. Today I want to focus on talking about my experiences with anxiety, as that was what was mostly requested by my friends that I inquired about before making this video. I'm also going to do videos on depression, binge eating, triggers, and self-harm, and the darker side of mental health. But I'm going to try and mix in some helpful tips as well as my personal experience. And I have an associate's in psychology, not saying that that's everything, but I do have valid information. I'm not going to bombard you guys with tons of facts, but what I'm saying does have truth to it and factual information behind it as well. The first thing I would say about my anxiety is that out of my mental health, that is the most recent diagnosis I had, which was probably 2015 or 2016 was when I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder, which basically just means that everything makes me anxious, which is, wonderful when you're trying to be a human being and enjoy the world and go about your day and just exist. And everything's a little bit more difficult because everything makes me anxious. And really, my struggle with it has been a wild roller coaster. I've had a lot of changes with my anxiety over the years. When it was first diagnosed, my anxiety was so bad that I was having a panic attack at least once a week. And for those of you who've had panic attacks, I'm sure you know that that's a horrific feeling and experience to go through. And imagining that being at least at a minimum a once a week thing. Panic attacks are an overwhelming feeling of anxiety where many people state that they feel like they're dying. It feels like a heart attack. There's chest pains involved. Sometimes you get the shivers. Sometimes you're jittery and shaking. For me personally, I definitely get the shortness of breath, chest pains. It feels like I'm dying, that I'm not in control of myself. To certain extents, it'll make me cry, it'll make me throw up, and I really just become incapacitated. I don't want anyone to talk to me sometimes. Other times, trying to be comforted scares me and makes it worse. But most panic attacks run within the 5 to 10 minute range, give or take, of the full feeling of it before you start calming down, and then eventually you calm down from it. But my anxiety was so bad, having them multiple times a week and feeling that fear constantly, I started to not leave the house. I wasn't going to my classes at the time when I was in college. I would just stay home. I wasn't doing my assignments. I had to email professors and let them know I'm not coming into class, explain, and I really just made up excuses that luckily they accepted. But it's hard to talk about the fact that you're experiencing such hardship with it because there's so much stigma around it, and taking a mental health day isn't a real thing to everyone, unfortunately, although mental health days are very important and necessary, and I really hope that more people start to get the picture. But that was the worst of my anxiety so far. It's gotten much better. However, I still have my moments. I have certain tics that come along with my anxiety. I like to rub my legs like this, and it's a subconscious thing. Sometimes I don't even notice that's what I'm doing. I tell my friends and family about that, so then maybe they can catch me before things start spiraling and getting much worse. I also, when I get anxious, I'll hold my hands really tightly, or I'll grab at my throat, even if it looks like I'm uncomfortably sitting going like this. That is a telltale sign that I am experiencing an anxious moment, whether I consciously realize it or not. Another thing I want to mention about anxiety is that a lot of it is irrational, and those of us who experience anxiety know what we're thinking and what's making us anxious isn't rational. We oftentimes can talk ourselves through it and say, this doesn't make sense to have this fear or this paranoia or this overwhelming feeling due to this situation, but our nervous systems are overreacting to it, and sometimes we can't stop it and we just have to ride the wave. And I would say anxiety has been my biggest struggle of my mental health, because it's the most present and most visible when it comes to seeing how you really are affected by it. It's more visible and present in your life in terms of literally you could be shaking, you can look distraught, you can look like you're not paying attention to anything at all, just blank stare, flat affect, and even just the fact that it prevents you from doing the things you want to do in your life, which makes it more visible and noticeable to see that you're changing and not being who you want to be because of these moments. And I feel like, unfortunately, I've missed out on a lot of opportunities because I was too anxious to go, whether it be a date, a field trip, just a fun event with friends. I've definitely turned down hangouts quite often due to my anxiety. Of course, I try to have open communication with my friends and explain what I'm going through so they understand, but it's hard because then you feel like you're not interacting even though you want to, and you feel like people are taking it as you don't like them or you have a problem with them specifically, but it's an internal thing. A lot of people think when I describe my anxiety that it's social anxiety because I don't go out, or anxiety with leaving the house, which has a specific name that I can't think of. I'll put it on the screen. But I don't have that. It might be agoraphobia, but I could be so wrong. So if it's wrong, I'm going to edit this out. But I'm not afraid of leaving the house, and I'm not afraid of social situations. I'm actually very social, and I love spending time with people. It's a fear of what's going to go wrong for me. How is the situation going to play out in my terms, not on my terms? And obviously no one can know exactly what's going to happen, and I can't predict what other people are going to think or do or say or anything, but not having that control is something that triggers me due to other experiences I've been through. But sometimes you just got to ride through it. I use several different things to help me cope with my anxiety. One of the biggest is box breathing, and that's because you breathe in a pattern where you can draw a box to keep track of your breaths, if that helps you, or just because the pattern is a 4-step pattern, 1, 2, 3, 4, of breathing in, holding it for a certain amount of time, breathing out, and then holding that a certain amount of time before you breathe back in again. So usually people start out with a 4 count, so it'd be an inhale of 4, holding it for 4, exhaling for 4, holding it for 4, and repeating that, and then trying to increase it. And the higher you can get it, the better, because that's what helps slows your heart rate. And if you practice this daily, then the breathing technique can help you not fall into a panic attack or just calm yourself. Even if it's just a normal stressful situation, you have a paper coming up, a big meeting at work, it's good to breathe and really center yourself. And it slows down your nervous system, because when you're anxious, what's happening is your nervous system is ramping up, and it's giving you that flight or fight response of, what do I need to do right now? How do I fix this? I don't feel okay. I don't feel safe. And if you can just slow your brain down a little bit, slow down your nervous system and breathe, that really helps. So it would look like this. And then you would continue doing that. The recommendation is that you breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. To me, I don't like doing that. That's not what feels good to me. What feels good to me is just using my nose. So that's how I do it. But feel free to do it whatever way you guys want to. Another thing that I learned through going to therapy is the true way to use the idea of go to your happy place. So what that is centering yourself in a time and a place attached to some other feeling or other sensory memory to pull you out of the anxiety, of the rushing thoughts, the rumination, that everything is going like this, and just put yourself completely somewhere else mentally. What I personally like to do is imagine the rain, because the rain is my favorite weather of all time, and I just like to quietly think in my head and just be really peaceful, sit still, lay down wherever I am in that moment that I need to calm myself, and just think of what would it feel like to have the rain touch me. What does rain feel like on my skin? The drops, the coldness. Is the rain coming down hard? Is it a light sprinkle? Is it windy? And just really focusing on what would that feel like, and having that focus pulls your brain away from everything else that's going this fast. And I know it could be anything. It could be thinking of your favorite book and trying to think of exactly what page certain words are on, and really just focusing and pinpointing to somewhere else. It could be thinking of a daydream, but really focusing on a different sensation other than that of what your nervous system is ramping up is what I found really helps me. Hopefully it helps you guys too. Another thing that is recommended often in therapy is drawing or coloring, because you have to focus. And when you are trying to calm anxiety, the goal is to calm your mind and to calm your nervous system. So if you have to pull your focus away to something else, anything else, such as coloring, that distracts the brain from everything else going on. I personally really like coloring. The adult coloring books are wonderful. You can get a children's one. I don't care what you get. I just care that you feel better about yourself and what you're going through. And another one that I love to use is essential oils. I know a lot of people don't believe in oils being able to do anything, similar to how people don't believe in the power of crystals or anything spiritual on that level. Not that essential oils are necessarily spiritual items, but I really do believe that they work and that they have properties due to the fact that they deal with your senses of scent and some topical healing purposes depending on the oil. Really do affect your brain because your body is absorbing it. And if you allow yourself to open your mind up to the mentality that they are useful, I would definitely recommend them. I love eucalyptus oil, is one of my favorites. So is peppermint oil. Anything minty is also wonderful. Tea tree is nice. There are certain essential oils for different effects. I would definitely suggest researching them. I'm often asked what my opinion on medication is when it comes to the uses for mental health, and I personally believe that any medication should be used hand in hand with something else, such as therapy. Taking a pill is not going to change everything for you. I also believe that a lot of it is work within yourself. Don't expect a quick fix. I personally used to take Prozac. I was on it for 8 months until I stopped taking it because I decided medication was not the right option for me. However, it did help me tremendously. I fully, wholeheartedly believe that Prozac is the reason that my panic attacks decreased and that I rarely have them now, and that without having taken it and continuing therapy, that I would have had a much larger issue with my panic attack situation. However, I stopped taking it because I'm not someone who's interested in pills in that way. Personally, overall, I don't like taking medicine unless I have to. I do get regular checkups and get shots and all those good things, but when it comes to other medications prescribed, I'd prefer to try and take more natural approaches if possible, and then resort to medicine and just let my body try to heal itself the best that it can, so I can see where my own body's strengths and weaknesses are. But I would definitely recommend Prozac to try if that's something you're interested in. I have not tried any other medication for anxiety, but that would be my personal recommendation on that. If you feel like you may be experiencing symptoms of anxiety or trouble with mental health in any way, it is important to note that it does run in families. Mental health issues can be traced generationally. I know that my grandmother experienced anxiety, and therefore I had a higher chance of myself experiencing it throughout my lifetime. And here we are. But just because I'm anxious and have generalized anxiety disorder doesn't mean anything negative towards me. I love that part of myself as much as I hate it, just because it's part of my journey and part of my life and part of my experiences. And I'm happy to know that it's something that's not my fault, and I didn't have an option to be anxious or not be anxious, and that there are ways to mitigate it and help it not feel as heavy all the time. Although it is a struggle, I'm not ashamed of it and I'm not embarrassed of it. If you guys have any questions on anxiety, feel free to ask me. Wow, I can't talk. But feel free to ask me any questions. I'm open to talking about anything. Feel free to reach out to me on social media. If you don't want to put it in the YouTube comments, I'm happy to talk about anything and everything regarding mental health, because I want to break down the stigma and make it more normalized. So thank you guys for listening to my spiel today. I don't know how long this video is going to be or whatever, but I really hope that it brought you guys some useful information, things that are helpful to you, and that you feel more open to talking about these things. I think the next video I'll do will be on depression, and we will go from there. But otherwise, have a beautiful day, everybody. Mwah.